Hey, it's Al Zay Calhoun with Coveted Consultant, and today we are talking about lead generation. Actually, I've formally titled today. Today is called Lead Generation for Agencies: 8 Steps to Significantly Better Leads. So here's the deal, right? Lead generation is a thing. It is a process. It is something that you need to focus on. We all know that, but what do we do about that? Today, or this today's content is part one of a two-part series. Today, I want to focus on strategy. Today, I want to focus on. Today, I don't want to give you more to do. I actually want to challenge you to do less. I want to give you less to do. And I want to walk you through a series of questions. I want to walk you through a series of steps so that you can begin to take things out. In fact, let me just kind of tell you the end here. At the end, we're going to talk about taking out the trash. Right, we're going to take out the trash. I'm going to walk you all the way through that. So Xander's here. Hey, Xander. Um, so we're talking specifically about lead generation, and man, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Okay, so let's start here with the brief introduction here that when we think about lead generation, we think about it typically in these two broad spectrums. So one is if I just tell somebody what I'll do or what I do, they'll buy it. Right? We'll just do it, right? I just let me tell them, right? Give me a chance to tell somebody what I do, and if I just send them an outreach note, if I just send them a piece of content, if they just see it, they'll just buy it. The other approach is the custom approach. Let me talk to people. Let me figure it out. Let me we'll talk it all through, and then I'll develop what they need. Right. So this approach is template based, right? So these are the folks who have downloaded tons of templates, and you got all these different approaches, right? And the assumption here is that one of these templates is the magic template. One of these approaches is the magic approach. And if I just fill in the blanks, send it away, they'll just buy it, right? Because what I do is so awesome. Okay, well, that doesn't work, right? Doesn't work, right? Okay, cool. Other extreme is these people they have no templates, right? Everything is custom. So every time you talk to a prospective client, it's like reinventing your business. Because you're reinventing the service. Oftentimes you say yes to things that you don't quite know how to do. Then you got to scramble back to your office, and you and your team, or you and your freelancers, got to figure out how you're going to put it all together. Stressful, right? So there's kind of two basic approaches for how to think about lead generation. Both of them cause serious friction without you having to redo your entire approach. Right. So today, in kind of part one of this conversation about lead generation, today is about removing some stuff. Right, just kind of seeing what you have, and then from that you can do better if you want. So today is about strategy. The next video next week is going to be about the actual practical tactics if you need a step-by-step method. Okay, so here we are. We're going to begin with a story here, right? Let's think about lead generation as it relates to your client. Okay, in the world of your client, digital marketing, internet marketing, online marketing, whatever word we want to use today, in the world of your client, digital came fast. It overwhelmingly fast. So let's kind of walk through it. I got a little timeline here in front of me. Let me walk through a timeline. Hey, Shelby, we'll walk through a timeline so we can see what I'm talking about. All right. So in 1995, if you can reflect back to 1995, before Y2K, right? 1995, before Y2K, nobody had a website. I mean, what's a website? Websites aren't needed. Websites aren't useful. Nobody had a website, and AOL ruled the earth. If you remember AOL, and there was sending out CDs in these packages. Who uses CDs anymore? Sending out CDs in these packages. They were mailing them to your house, right? Everybody just getting online was phenomenal. Getting mail at all was phenomenal, right? AOL ruled the earth. Nobody had a website. 1995. Okay, how old were you in 95? What grade were you in 95, right? Where were you in your life in 95? All right, 2000, in the year 2000, having a website became cool. So if you had a website, that was cool, man. Look, they got a website up. Isn't that cool? Like you can go to www.abc.com and you can see like their site. Isn't it cool, right? Having a website was cool. And everybody was in a rush to kind of get a website, just have a website up. And in 2000, Y2K, right, somewhere around 2000, the tech bubble happened. So all these businesses that were more or less just a website, right? We learned the stock market crashed. I know you remember this, right? This is 2000, and all of a sudden having a website wasn't good enough anymore. Right? The internet bubble taught us that in 2001, simply having a website isn't good enough. That doesn't make a business, right? Lynn says she was married in 1995, right? I was just trying to be fair to everybody, right, Lynn? Okay. So, um, um, in in 2005, okay, so now five years beyond that, in 2005, success on the web, success in digital, success online, success in the internet meant SEO. It meant getting to the top of Google. Do you remember that pressure? Do you remember that narrative, those stories? Everything was about getting to the top of Google, right? Okay. And getting to the top of Google meant keyword stuffing. It meant getting all the keywords you thought might be useful and cramming them into your content. You go to these web pages and they would have the information you wanted. Then at the bottom, it would have this big blurb, big glob of keywords just shoved onto the page, right? If you remember that, like that's the way SEO used to work back then, right? Okay, that's 2005. Hang with me here because the story is very, very important. So that's 2005. 2010, more or less, introduced content marketing, this phrase, this term called content marketing. It did not exist before 2010, but in 2010, content marketing exists, which more or less interpreted to create as much content as you possibly can. Create as much content, put it everywhere, more content, more content, more content. Do you remember that? Do you remember all of the pressure that was applied by the pundits of the day? More content, more content, more content. Do you remember that? Okay, that's 2010. Now 2015, right? Closer to today. 2015, more or less, where are we now? Now it's about funnels. Now it's about automation. Now it's about bots. And it's about this increased level of software to help us integrate all these different internet marketing pieces. Okay, why am I telling that story? Why the walk through history? Your client was in business in 1995, and somewhere between 95 and 2015, they've been continually trying to grow their company. And these things have been happening to them along this time. When your client got started in 1995, or when they put up their business in 2000, for example, having a website was cool. This was a thing to have. Maybe I have it, maybe I don't have it. But then year after year, this thing called digital has forced them to think about being online more and more. This thing called digital has forced them to not only be online but to understand it, to leverage it, to get return from it, because their customers want them to be online in multiple platforms and multiple modalities, and their customers want them to be fluent in online and digital. So not just have a website, but to have chat features and to be active on social media and to create all this interesting content and blah 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 blah. What I'm trying to remind you of is this story happened to your client. They had no intention of being involved in digital, didn't care. Your client wants to sell what they want to sell. They want to do what they want to do. They didn't care 2 cents, probably still don't care about digital. It's just something they have to do. Let's continue. Let's continue. So then, with that as the backstory, people need help with digital. Remember, your client wasn't interested in digital, didn't care much about it then, doesn't care much about it now, doesn't know a whole lot about it now. And this is even true for marketing people. If you ever talk to a director of marketing, a VP of marketing, a chief marketing officer, digital is just not what they grew up learning. It wasn't in their a college degree. It wasn't in their master's program. It wasn't in any of their certifications or past experiences. They built their whole marketing career not doing digital. And all of a sudden, here we are now, and digital is immediately necessary for them. They got to figure something out. They feel your client feels the pressure of digital. They don't understand it. It's not intuitive. It's not part of their expertise, but they're being forced to use it. There's a pressure associated with digital. So when I talk about needing help, I have a list here. When I talk about needing help with digital, let me just kind of rattle off some terms that make sense to you, but that are scaring the heck out of your client. So let's talk about creation in the world of digital. Web design, web development, content creation, online advertising, SEO, graphic design, video. All of those things require content to be created or things to be made inside a digital platform, right? Design a website, design the front end that people see, design the back end that supports it, create video content, written content, audio content. When you do any kind of online advertising, you got to create content to go with the advertising, images and copy and etc. Right? Then you still got to SEO all that stuff in some way, and all that stuff needs graphic design. You've got to have some sort of graphic design sensibility, some sort of branding, if you will, as you move through all that stuff, right? Like you got to create all of that. And your client didn't grow up on any of that, okay? Still inside people needing help. They need help comprehending all this stuff. What do I mean? Web analytics, social listening, conversion rate optimization. What does that mean? In 1995, in 2000, none of those terms existed. In 2010, you could argue that none of those terms were even existed, right? They're barely understood today. So your client right now is trying to get their head around all these new terms that are not intuitive for them. Let's go one more. Automation, things people need help with. Automation, email autoresponders. What is that? Marketing automation. What is that? Messaging bots. What are those? So these are things with all the moving parts of digital marketing stuff. Now you got to automate some of this stuff. You got to find a way to systemize, automate, and make it more efficient. But what the heck is an email autoresponder? That didn't exist in 95. What the heck is a marketing automation? Seriously, because marketing automation as a term, it branches out into 100 different things, right? So these are things that your client is completely overwhelmed by, but they're trying to figure them out, right? Okay. Then, even still inside what people need help with, then there's the active daily management of all of what I just talked about. Whether it's creating things, whether it's comprehending metrics, or whether it's trying to automate the process, all of that has to be understood and managed. And how many projects and sub projects are there in all of that mire and muck? And all of that fits under marketing. Amazing, isn't it? Like just for just a moment, appreciate the magnitude of what your client is going through as they try to get their own heads around digital marketing. Whoa. Okay. So then let's move to the next part of our conversation. In this conversation, you are the doctor. Your client, because digital has brought them pain. This thing called digital has brought them new dynamics that are in over their head. What are we talking about? And they're interacting with you because you do something in this digital space. They have pain. You're the doctor. Your job is to bring them a solution. So now, as I'm talking to you as the doctor, you've got to stop speaking the language of a doctor. Like you're the expert, right? You understand all the nuances and details. So as you think about lead generation, trying to create more conversations and onboard clients and do the marketing work to build your own company, if you're talking in a doctor's language, you're going to have trouble resonating. Because listen to all the language we just flew through. Now, this is stuff you understand. Your client, clueless. You can't speak, you got to speak the client's intuitive language. Do not teach your client about X. So you're the doctor, you're the expert, you know all this stuff. And the moment you get on the phone, here you go, educating the mess out of the person you're talking to. You're explaining this vocabulary term and relating this term to this instance. And you may have even walked clients through that timeline I just described to you. You walked them through, it used to be this way, now it's that way. And here you are teaching your client about X. They are not talking to you because they want to be taught. They're talking to you because they want to problem solve. You got to be a better doctor. Talk about the problem and how to fix it. Don't start teaching them about how to be a doctor. That's your job. You've got to, under being a doctor here, you've got to deliver on X in a way that solves the problem. In other words, take the pain away. So when you're interacting with your prospective client, when you're trying to generate leads and generate conversations, what you're trying to do here is say very plainly, I'm trying to take the pain away. I know you've got pain. My desire, our desire as a company, is to take that pain away. That should be your perspective. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue. So now you're the doctor. We agree on that. That's your perspective. What I find, what I learn in talking to many people just like you, is that you're flat out fishing in the wrong pond. So you're the doctor, you're the expert, you know all that, you hear all that, great. But where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your effort as you try to generate better leads, generate better clients, and get more conversations? You're probably spending your time in the wrong pond, fishing in the wrong pond. So for some people, they aren't fishing at all. Like literally, they aren't fishing. It literally is it's just hope and pray. You just hope and pray that all your clients stay. You just hope and pray and wish that every client you have will stay a client and they'll stay forever and they'll pay you money forever. And you just kind of hope that's true, right? You just kind of hope it's true. It's not true, right? We know that, right? Okay, so let's move on. You hope or you ask someone else to fish for you. These are referrals. So instead of controlling your own lead generation and knowing how it works and having command of it, you're really hoping that somebody else will fish for you. Somebody else will do your quote unquote dirty work for you. Uh, if they do it for you, great. As long as it works, great. But then sooner or later, it doesn't work, right? Because they don't work for you. They're not excited about doing your work for you. So sooner or later, your referral sources dry up. Then you got a brand new pain, right? Okay. Fishing in the wrong pond. We're still there. You're spending too much time talking to people just like you. Look at the forums that you're in. Look at the time that you spend online or the time that you spend offline. And how many meetings do you go to, interactions that you have with people that are just like you? They sell what you sell. They do what you do. There's nothing wrong with interacting with people who are in your world. Nothing wrong with that at all. But that's not where your client is, right? You're fishing in the wrong pond. Like you got to be where people need you, right? So everybody who does what you do doesn't need you, right? There are people there are people with real pain, like the ones we're describing, but they're not in this pond. They're in another pond, right? So you got to fish in a better pond. Pragmatically, practically, simply, what's the best pond? LinkedIn. If you do not have a lead generation process, if you do not have a client acquisition process and you sell services to other businesses, you need to have a presence on LinkedIn, period. It's the simplest place to be to get the maximum amount of return. So if I say LinkedIn and you go, what's that? Problem, right? If I say LinkedIn and you go, oh yeah, problem, right? When I say LinkedIn, you should be like, right, I got it. let's get to work, right? Like there's got to be a way of leveraging LinkedIn. And without a sales pitch on this, LinkedIn is designed. It's a B2B network. It's a business to business network, and the whole intention of the platform is to generate conversations from business to business. That's what the program is. What the platform is designed to do, to generate conversations amongst business people. So if you're not on the platform, you're working really hard, right? Okay, so but let's continue here, because even if you agree and kind of nod to the whole idea of being on LinkedIn, we're not through kind of getting our brain set around this, because still fishing should be a process. So just because you're on LinkedIn, I'll say I have a profile, duh, right? Even if you're on LinkedIn, doesn't mean that money's going to fall from the sky or jump out of your computer at you, right? There's got to be a process that you're following on LinkedIn. This process, let's be very, very clear, should have clear and repeatable steps. So you know what the steps are, and you follow those mechanical steps. You follow those mechanical steps, right? If that As simple as that sounds, if you don't have clear and repeatable steps, you don't have a process. And maybe you are having success on this platform or on that platform. Maybe you are already on LinkedIn, you've gotten a few opportunities. But are you following a consistent, repeatable process? Okay. This process should be a daily discipline. So what happens is, you wake up one day, you missed your last growth target, you're all fired up and flustered. So you run to LinkedIn, you do a bunch of networking, and maybe you get a client, or maybe you don't. But once you get through with that flustered, panicked effort, you're done. You take a nap, you've worn yourself out. It hurts. It's a poor approach. This needs to be a daily discipline. What I'm talking about, if you use LinkedIn as a platform, for example, should be a daily discipline. You do it every day, and you let that momentum stack one brick on top of another. That's how business people think. You run a business, that's how it should work, right? So not only should it have clear and repeatable steps, it should be a process. All right. It should also be measurable. So you should know what effort you took on Monday and how that worked out, and what effort you took on Tuesday and how that worked out, and on Wednesday and on Thursday, on Friday. You should know what effort you took in January, what effort you took in July, what effort you took in August. And you should be able to measure the effectiveness of your effort. It, Fishing is a process, everybody. It's a process. And if you don't have this appreciation of process, there are your challenges. Okay? Let's continue. Alzay, I got it. I know I should have a process. Blah, 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 blah. All right, you're still arguing with me. Okay, cool, cool. Fishing, let's talk about where the process breaks. So if you got a process, you're working one already, you feel good about your process. Let's talk about where it breaks. First of all, LinkedIn is social media. It's a social media platform. It's designed to be social. And LinkedIn as a platform is going to encourage you to use every button, functionality, etc., that it offers. In other words, LinkedIn is going to ask for more and more of your time, more and more of your time. If you do what LinkedIn says do, you'll never be profitable. So you can't just be on LinkedIn. You can't just quote unquote engage on LinkedIn. You can't just engage in social media. That's not a profitable way of thinking about this. You are going to have to see through all the functionality that LinkedIn offers and get a more specific, refined, profitable approach. You must maintain your expert status in each interaction. So you're on LinkedIn and you're doing what you're doing, right? Quick check-in. Look at your LinkedIn profile. Is your expertise obvious in your profile? Look again at your current network on LinkedIn. Does your current network understand your expertise? If you look down your list of connections, do they understand your expertise? Look again at the last 4 or 5 things or 10 things you posted on LinkedIn. Do they reinforce your expertise? not sell something, not just talk about general, but do they reinforce your expertise? In other words, are you creating a narrative that puts you in control of every engagement? Are you creating a narrative that says that you are the expert in this thing that you do? Are you using LinkedIn in this way? The experts don't talk about this. They don't. There's a okay. I can go overboard here. If you got a question about that or a comment about that, you can post it below. But one more step here. You must build a process and maintain its sanctity. So in other words, you build this process, you're using LinkedIn the way you're supposed to use it, and as you use the LinkedIn process, you've got to continually refine it so that it works to your best interest. You got to continually understand it so that you can get maximum benefit on your effort. If you don't do these things, LinkedIn breaks. And then you'll complain and you'll say, well, LinkedIn doesn't work. I tried LinkedIn and it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. LinkedIn is designed to facilitate conversations amongst business people. So if you're on LinkedIn and you're not having conversations with other business people, you're not. That's what it's for. So if you're using it and you're not getting that return on it, right? Like yuck. Okay, all right. Let's continue. Let's continue here. Okay. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying today, right now. Let's make sure that we see this together because for those of you who grasp this, this may feel repetitive. I'm trying to highlight what makes lead generation work. So hang on here. So for clarity, what am I saying? People need help with digital. Digital happened to your client. They didn't expect it. They weren't looking for it. They weren't excited to get involved with it. Digital happened to them. It's a threat in their world. It's causing them pain and anguish. And so your job is to resolve it. Your job is to resolve that issue. People need help with that. Number two is you need a process for generating new conversations. So I'm suggesting LinkedIn be where you start, but whatever you're currently doing, you need a process for it, and that process should generate a certain kind of conversation where you are the expert and they are the patient, expecting, respecting, listening for your expertise. You got to develop a process that does that, and in every interaction, you've got to be the expert. So whether you are in your profile, when someone sees your profile, they should say to themselves, wow, they do this for real. When you're interacting with somebody inside of Messenger on LinkedIn, they should be like, this person is a pro. When they get on the phone with you, they should be like, I've never thought about it that way. Man, y'all really do this, don't you? Every time you interact with someone, it should feel and be impressive. You got to design that. That's got to be the reality for your company. Otherwise, why bother? Otherwise, why bother? Okay. Now, with all of that said, with all of that said, now it's time to remove some garbage. Take out the trash. What do I mean? What digital problem faces your client? Right now, I'm talking to you. I'm not being conceptual anymore. Now we're being literal. What digital problem faces your client? I gave you the context, 95 all the way up to current day. What digital problem faces your client? What digital problem are you certain you can solve? Your client's threatened by a whole bunch of digital things, but which one of those things can you solve? Not what service can you offer. Which of those digital problems can you solve? Now, I'm asking the question right now. Something's happening in your stomach right now. Something's happening in your mind right now. Be honest with yourself. What problem is it? Which one can you solve? What conversation should you be having about this problem and solution? How should the conversation go? When you're on the phone with somebody, how should the conversation go? When you're navigating inside a messenger or an email or however you're interacting before you get on the phone, how should that conversation go? You're the expert, right? You're the doctor. How should the conversation go? Pragmatically, honestly, look at your own process. Whatever you're doing right now to generate new business, to get more clients, to create more conversations, look at your own process right now. Are you creating these kinds of conversations? What we just described, what we just kind of went back and forth on for the last 30 minutes or so, or however long it's been. In your process right now, are you creating those kinds of dialogues? That's either a yes or a no. It's either a yes or a no. You've already had the response. The gut response has already taken place. One more step here. If you're not having the kinds of conversations you know you should be having, all of the distractions need to go. It's time to take out the garbage. So all these tools and templates that you downloaded free from here, you borrowed from so and so, you got their process, you got this process, the blog post you read, the YouTube video you watched, the webinar you viewed, all those. You got all these ideas, right? Templates and carrying on. Delete them. They're not serving you. Delete them. Go to that folder, click the folder, right click, go down to delete, and let it go to the recycle bin. And then when it's in the recycle bin, click the recycle bin, right click, empty recycle bin, let them go. They're not serving you. All those tools and templates and things you've got on your computer, delete them, let them go. These sheets of paper that you've got around, these lead generation strategies and take over the world, whatever that you got on your desk, ball them up, throw them away. They're not serving you. They're not creating the kinds of conversations you wish to have. They're not serving you. Throw them away. Take out the trash. There are ideas in your mind right now. You probably in your mind right now are arguing with me. But Alzay, what about the blank? But Alzay, so and so says this, so and so says that, and he does this, and she does that, and they do this, and they do that. You might be still arguing with me right now. Those thoughts in your mind right now are not serving you. If they were serving you, you'd be doing them, and then you'd be having the right kinds of conversations. So go ahead, write those ideas out, write them out, ball them up, throw them away. They're not serving you. Take out the garbage. Take out the trash. How you do lead generation today has been poorly informed. How you do lead gen today has been poorly informed. And because of that poor information, you're having poor conversations. Either not enough of them, which is poor, or not the right quality, which is poor. Either way, it's poor. So today, in this video, we're having a confrontation. Throw out the stuff you don't need anymore and let that space exist. So now there's new space on your hard drive because you deleted files you don't need. Now there's new space on your desk because you've thrown away things you don't need. There's new space in your brain because you've deleted and removed all the thoughts that you don't need. In the next video, the next live that I do, I'll talk about directly and tactically how to leverage LinkedIn to get the kind of response you want. But if you don't empty out the garbage first, then I'll just be offering you another set of ideas. If you don't empty out the garbage first, you'll still be arguing with LinkedIn as the place where you should be, even though it's so obvious that it should be where you should be. So I'm serve yourself in this way. Eliminate the stuff that is not working so you can make some space for some better ideas. And we'll do the whole deep dive on that next week. All right. Okay. So gone through a whole bunch of content today. Um, um, I am going to address some questions that I knew came in a little earlier. If you got a question, a comment, or concern, post it in the box, and I'll address it. Right? I'll do the best I can. I'm clicking around and checking a couple of things to see if some questions have come from some other sources. Sometimes folks send questions in early, so I'm checking those out. Here we go. So one question here is, So this question, and frankly, I like this question a lot. I like thinking this way a lot. So here we go. The short version here is, how do you balance life relationships with business? So if is your first piece of content of mine that you've seen, this could be a little jarring. Life. Why are we talking about life? Here's what I believe: you don't just run a business; you lead a life, and boundaries between those two things are very, very important. And it is for too many people, the reality is that their business consumes them. You're doing business 24/7. And so all these ways that I talk about doing client acquisition, doing client service, doing client retention, I talk about doing them in a way that respects the life you want to lead. It's a big deal to me. It's a big deal to me. You're no good to your clients if your brain's exploding because your life overwhelmed. Okay. So the question here is, listen, I know you got to set some boundaries with your business, but are they the same with family? Period. Right. So how do you set the boundaries with your family? Okay. For you right now, I think what is most appropriate is that you set immediate boundaries for your business. So you think about your business. You think about what you want your business to do and be and become, and you get your goals and general direction clear. And you put processes and you put systems around those efforts. I simplify them: client acquisition, that was today's conversation; client service; client retention. Those things begin to have systems. And when you put them in process, when you put them in order, when you give them systems, that begins to create boundaries for them, right? What they do and don't do, right? And so from that, it, this only makes sense if you've experienced this. But when you've put these better systems, it changes how your day flows. You have less friction in your personal day because you're better organized with how you pursue client acquisition, better organized on how you deliver client service, and you've got better systems for client retention. You're just better organized. So what ends up happening is, plainly, you have more time for your family. You got more time for your family because you aren't overstressed doing work stuff. Period. Right. So I really think when it comes to boundaries, the first set of boundaries are to get your business under control. And that takes the pressure way down, instead of trying to get your family under control. Ah, there's a way of having that conversation, but you don't process your family. You can process your business. And by putting process around your business, it makes other things a lot easier to do, right? Um, Yeah. So point made. Point made. Was there anything else that came through? Um, no. Looks like so far so good. All right. Final check. I'm checking this. I'm checking that. Couple of more clicks here. No. So far so good. So listen. Next week we're gonna do lead generation via LinkedIn tactically, step by step. I'll explain to you how it works, how I've been doing it, how I've been helping my clients do it, and I'll give it to you one brick at a time. So I think you'll really appreciate next week's live if you're looking for a tactical plan of action. Without any further ado, thank you so much for your time today. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.